Okay, so the next question we have to ask is, are Singaporeans being treated fairly? Okay, in terms of wages, let's look at it. So if you look at, this is a yellow box, you can't see, but it's the whole of the total income in Singapore. So if you look at how much the richest 1% earns, the richest 1% actually earns as much as the poorest 40% in Singapore. Okay, this is a bit also, actually the divide is even further now. Okay, and then if you look at how much the richest 5% earn, oh by the way, for the richest 1%, the real median income is $2.1 million. So you can kind of guess who's in the top 0.1% in Singapore. Okay. Then for the richest 5%, they earn as much as the poorest 60% in Singapore. And for the richest 5%, they earn about $15,000 and above. Okay, so you can also kind of guess who's in the richest 5%. Okay. And then for the richest 20%, they earn as much as the poorest 80% in Singapore. So that means the divide is quite big. The poorest 80% actually takes about 50% of the income, whereas the richest 20% takes the other 50%. The divide is, what the problem is in Singapore is, even though our median wage is the lowest, for the high income earners, they actually earn the highest wages in Singapore, and the low income earners earn the lowest wages in Singapore. The divide, the disparity is the widest in Singapore as compared to all the other high income countries. So that is why income inequality, like Mr. Tan Kim has said, is highest in Singapore as compared to all the high income countries. And also poverty rate, as we've calculated at 26%, is also much higher than all the other countries. Poverty rate in this instance is half of the median wage. Median wage is about 3,000 now, so half of it is anyone who earns below 1,500 is living in poverty. Okay, so that's 26%. I will take a look at the specific wage that each people are earning. So these are three Singaporeans. The low income earner earns about $800 per month. The medium income earner earns $3,000, and the high income earner earns about $15,000. Okay, and then in a year, the low income earner would earn $9,600, the middle income $36,000, and the high income earner $180,000. Okay, so we calculated how much they need to spend for the basic necessities. So for tax, Singaporeans, the highest income earner pays about 20%. Singaporeans pay about 36% into CPF, employer 16%, and employee 20%. Okay. For food, we estimate that a person spends $15 per day, transport about $100 per month, housing about $600 per month for a 4-room flat. Healthcare, we estimate about $1,000, and education $2,000 for 2 school-going children in university and polytechnic. It's actually a lot higher, but we put in a low estimate. Okay. This is how much they pay in a year, 20% to tax for the highest income earner. By the way, there's no discrimination for high income earners and low income earners, etc. I'm pointing out the specific scenario in Singapore, so there's no, there shouldn't be a distinction, because the system is fair, regardless of whether you're low income or high income earner. It is a fair system for all. Do I make sense? Okay, anyway, we'll go on. So for CPF, oh, sorry. Okay, so for CPF, the employee CPF is 20%. So out of their wage, we just look at it as 20%. Okay, how much they get in wages and how much they pay to CPF. Okay, and then for food, they will pay about 5,400 a year, 1,200 a year for transport, 7,400 a year for housing, and for healthcare and education is 1,000 and 2,000. So if you look at how much a low income earner spends, just to put it into perspective, tax is $0, CPF is about $1,920, but for food we put in a lower estimate because they are poor, so we put it as $3,600. Okay, and then for housing we put it as $1,200 because they are renting HDB flats, so that's about $100 per month on average. Okay, yeah. Okay, so for the low income earner, they would pay about 20% into tax and CPF. For the middle income earner, they would pay about 21% into tax and CPF. And for the high income earner, they would pay about 15% into tax and CPF. So that means that for the low income and the middle income earners, they actually have a much lower purchasing power because they pay out a higher proportion of their wages into tax and CPF. Okay, so how much would they have left? For the low income earner, after accounting for all this, they actually go into a debt of more than $1,000. But for the middle income earner, they earn about $12,000 a year. They save about $12,000 a year. And for the high income earner, they save about $135,000 a year. Okay, and if you look at, say, that means that for the low income earner, they have to forego some form of expenditure. So for them, they might have to forego education, for example. Okay. Now, if you add the other, say if the couple has 2 children, so they have to spend more for another children, they have additional expenses of food and transport, and they might have to buy insurance because the current Medisave and Medishield does not provide 100% expenditure coverage for Singaporeans. You do have to buy private insurance. So we estimate about $2,400 for the middle income and high income earner. Okay. So how much would they have to spend? It's about $4,800 for the low income and $9,000 for the high income and middle income earner. And again, when you look at how much they have to save in total, the low income person actually goes to a debt of more than $6,000, whereas the middle income earner will only be able to save $2,000 or $3,000 in a year. Okay? That means that for the low income earner, they have to forgo education, they have to forgo healthcare. So what this means is that possibly about 50% or more Singaporeans would never be able to save and retire. Okay? Okay, let me think. I'll just quickly go through this. So for the middle income earner, I've talked about how the disparity is the widest. In the other countries, the disparity is a lot smaller between the income levels. Okay, for the middle income compared to the low income, they earn about 4 times more. For the high income earners, they earn about 19 times more than low income. Okay, and if you look at how much they have left in a year, this is how much they have left, and how much they have left in a month. For the high income earner, for the low income earner, they won't be able to save at all, but for the high income earner, they actually save more than what a low income earner earns in a year. Okay, and then if you look at additional luxury items, the only middle income and low income earner would not be able to purchase them, but for the high income earner, they will still be able to purchase and have a huge savings left over. I think the point here to make is that the income disparity is wide in Singapore. Should we narrow it so that the low income earners can get higher wages, so that the purchasing power across the board is also rises? Okay. I think so. The next question is, what if Singaporeans are paid fairly? If Singaporeans are paid fairly, for the low income earner, instead of earning $800 a year, I estimate that they will earn about $2,800 a year, and for the middle income, they might earn about $6,000. Because for the prices and the cost of living that we have in Singapore, if you look at the comparative, a country which has a similar price level, they earn about twice the median wage that we do, $6,000. So after you deduct so that's the annual expenditure, and after you deduct for the expenditure, this is the savings that you get. So at least for the low income earner, they would now be able to save instead of going to a debt. Okay? And the middle income earner would also be able to save a lot more. And this is compared to how much they are actually saving at this point. Instead of going into debt, a low income earner will be able to save more. Okay? And then if they want to buy a luxury item, say a car, even a middle income would be able to purchase a car at this point. And the car might not be a luxury item because for families, it is a real need. Okay? So even after you look at the savings that they have, everyone in Singapore would be able to save if we are able to ensure that everyone has fair wages, are paid fairly. Okay?